This is the Cosmic Charger. It is a custom-built exhibition car by Casper. MPC has tried to capture the spirit of America's most beautiful dragster with updated parts, an informative pamphlet, and a very complicated decal sheet. The updated model kit was released in 2015 and includes the parts necessary to use the proper pot-vin manifold, so the car keeps the original sleek profile. The decal sheet's quality print filled me with hope. This car has a very complicated paint scheme with fades, fine lines, and even murals. I have to hand it to MPC. They did a wonderful job with printing the decals. Here is every part included in the box. As usual, the chrome trees are excessive, so stripping it off was necessary. This is the updated part sprue for the front-mounted blower and pot-vin manifold. This special arrangement allowed for a sleeker profile of any engine that used it. The sleek profile can give the car a smaller aerodynamic drag. You just have to make sure the nose of the car is long enough. Here's a close-up of the Hemi valve covers. The Imperial script will be sanded off and the spark plug holes will be drilled out. The instructions are really designed for the top-mounted blower and simple wheels from the original kit. If you build this newer version, make note of the different details in the instructions. Assembling the block is easy. Just follow the steps for your specific build. You'll need to get used to removing flash as the parts are from a 1960s mold. Always test fit your parts, particularly with these old kits. Notice the extreme angle on the cylinder heads. This is wrong, and a test fit will tell you that. Next is my favorite part of the build, the front-mounted blower. If you look close, there is no fuel injection on the side of the blower. I'll have to tackle that later. Notice how the ignition coil will need to be trimmed so it fits under the hood scoop. Instead of cutting from the top, I cut from the bottom because I want to run spark plug wires later on. Here's the engine with the pot-vin manifold. It fits properly with cylinder heads put on in the correct way. Since the yellow pan is chrome, I'll need to prep the surface. The heads were installed, and after the glue dried, I sanded off the Imperial script and drilled the spark plug holes. The new parts for the front-mounted blower did not fit so well, so I had to wallow out these holes. I think MPC's lust with chrome is to blame here. I then sanded the mating areas of the chrome parts so my cement would work. After some finesse, the blower mount fits on the front of the engine block. Here is the underside of the whole assembly. There's no fuel injection or air filter. Those are not included with the kit. The engine shows potential with the blower mounted. It looks awesome. Because of some fitment issues in the previous steps, I decided to test fit everything so I can get an idea of what I would be dealing with. The engine, blower, and tubes all fit together, and I felt good about the parts working together with little influence from me. Now it was time to drill the spark plug holes. The Hemi has countersunk holes, so to be accurate, you should use 2 different sized drill bits. It will make all the difference later. Note the tiny hole, just big enough for the spark plug wire within the larger hole.
It looks like a wreck. It's in the hole! It's in the hole! Hey,
These are the exhaust pipes that come with the kit. MPC riddled them with injector pin divots for some reason. In my first mistake of the build, I decided to replace them by fabbing up 1/8 styrene tube. Sadly, I did not take pictures of the process as I probably hyper-focused on getting the angle of the pipes correct. It ended up being a huge waste of time, so I'll be moving on. The next boggle was putting the chassis and frame together. For 1960s molds, they tried real hard to make this easy, but it ends up being fiddly. Patience is very important in this step, and it is paramount that you get the rear end housing straight. Your rear wheels will mount to this. The sides of the roll cage had huge injector pin marks. This is the beginning of a theme. I thought about sanding these with some weird toothpick sander I could whip up, but decided against it. You'll see why later on. The interior panels are just as bad. Thankfully, the pin marks are hidden after you glue them in place. Here's the nose frame. Look at all that flash. Yeah! After I spent too much time on removing the flash, I decided to not follow all the instructions in step 5 because of painting concerns. I moved on to the next set of instructions, the seat, motor, and transfer case. Once again, MPC has cursed fellow scale modelers with injector pin hell. After doing some sanding, I decided to cover the pinholes with 1/6 rod. I roughly shaped one end of the rod to fit as flush as possible to the back of the seat. I then glued the whole rod onto the seat and trimmed the other end flush with the beginning of the seat. The injector pin at the top was a problem. I do not have small enough rods nor the mental capacity to fill in the curved surface, so I decided to cover it with a head cushion. Rummaging through the parts box, I found the tail wheel from some old World War II fighter plane. I cut it in half and glued it right on top of the pinhole. Looks good to me. Here are some of the interior parts after working them. Next is the front end, fuel cell, and fuel line. The line is full of more pinholes, so I planned on replacing it. Step 8 in the instructions focuses on the top-mounted blower. If you choose the front-mounted blower, follow the footnotes to use the kit's fuel line. After removing chrome from the contact points, I glued the front end onto the nose frame, then did a test fit of the fuel cell and the line. Get your tweezers ready because these steps are going to be fiddly. During my build, I elected to remove these parts from the sprue and prep them for paint. Step 9 shows a frame buttress and fire extinguisher. I glued the buttress to the frame, but left the fire extinguisher off for painting. I wanted to test fit the engine into the frame. It didn't fit because of the air manifold on the blower, and that needed to be sanded down. Here's after I did some sanding. I had to shave a lot off of the air box. You can see the shadow of the chrome within the plastic. Next, I looked at the steering mechanism. I had bad feelings about these parts.
I'm telling you, I got a bad feeling about this drop.
You always say that, Frost. You always have a bad feeling about this drop.
Okay. I'll get back without you. I'll call you folks.
I removed the chrome with my sponge sander while the pieces were still on the sprue. This provides stability and prevents breakage. Step 10 shows how to mount all the wheels. The rear wheels had a fitment problem with the body installed, so I had to ignore some of this. In the end, I had to snip the rear end flush to the sides of the cockpit, then insert cut toothpicks on both ends to allow the wheels to move inward and clear the body. Here are the wheel fairings and the hood scoop, new to this release of the model. I had a fleeting idea to hollow out the wheel fairings and insert the rubber wheels. The fairings are a little too narrow for my skills, so I decided to keep it simple. Step 11 shows the parachute mount, which seems wrong to me at a glance. Also notice how the bottom of the body hooks onto the front end. Make sure that front end is solidly glued to the nose cage. You will put the body on and off several times during the build, and that pivot point needs to be strong. 1960s molds.